All right, guys, and let's begin our review of judicial system structures. Now, today we are going to start with the state government. Okay. I'm not going to underline or highlight anything, but I am going to use the pointer. The federal court system, if you look at the top, has 3 levels of courts. The very top, the highest court in the land, is called the U.S. Supreme Court. Sorry. The court below the Supreme Court is called the U.S. Court of Appeals. And then the third court is called U.S. District Court. Okay. Now, we remember these by using the acronym. Remember, SAD, Supreme, stands for S. Appeals stands for A. And District stands for D. And that's a great way to remember the organization of the federal court system. So let's talk about what kind of cases each of the courts hear, because we're also going to go over examples. The first one is U.S. District Court. Okay, U.S. District Court has trials with a judge and a jury. Now, of course, the defendant decides whether to have a jury or not. So some of them do and some of them don't. That's why it says with or without. U.S. District Court is the federal court that deals with federal lawsuits and federal felonies, charges like kidnapping, racketeering laws, tax laws, anything that has to do with the federal government. Now, if you were to murder a government official or someone was to murder an FBI agent or something like that, those are also federal court cases. That would be a federal murder charge, which is a felony. The U.S. District Court has original jurisdiction. Original jurisdiction are first-time trials. It says that in the box right here. Now, if your case in if the case starts in your U.S. District Court, the Court of Appeals would be where they appeal the case. In the U.S. Court of Appeals, you have 3 judges and no jury because the case has already happened. They're looking at whether the judge and the lawyers followed the Constitution. If they did not follow the Constitution, they could send it back to district court or just dismiss the case altogether. This is called appellate jurisdiction and is a second-time trial. No trial starts in the Court of Appeals. It has to go to U.S. District Court first. And remember, we're specifically talking about the federal system. The highest court in the land where you can appeal a case is called the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court has no judges. Instead, they have 9 justices. There is no jury in the U.S. Supreme Court, but they have 2 kinds of jurisdiction. Appellate jurisdiction from the U.S. Court of Appeals. They will hear cases from the Court of Appeals. Or limited original cases. And remember, there are 3 kinds of limited original cases. If somebody or a government sues the president or the executive branch, if a state in America sues another state, or a case from a state Supreme Court can go up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Those 3 kinds of cases are called limited original. Now, we have a second court system because remember, America has a dual court system, 2 different kinds of courts. We also have a state court system. Now, this court has 4 different levels. The top court is called the Virginia Supreme Court. Below that, you have the Virginia Court of Appeals. Below the Virginia Court of Appeals, you have Circuit Court. And then below Circuit Court, you would have General District and Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court, which would be the lowest court in the state court system. Now, let's look at some of these kind of facts about the different state courts. I'm going to start with Juvenile and Domestic Court. Juvenile and Domestic Court has original jurisdiction for family cases and cases involving youth offenders or anybody under the age of 18. That's called a juvenile. That means anyone who commits a low-level misdemeanor crime, that would be like, I don't know, jaywalking, driving on a suspended license, trespassing, things like that. Or if they're under the age of 18, when they committed that misdemeanor, they're going to go to juvenile and domestic. But here's the weird part of juvenile and domestic. If a juvenile commits a felony as bad as something like murder or something, that's also going to go to juvenile and domestic relations court. Although if the crime is bad enough, sometimes the judges will try a child as an adult if they're over the age of 14. The other lower court is called general district. And just like juvenile, there's only a judge. The lower courts, juvenile and general district, do not have juries. Okay. General district court is for low dollar civil cases, like somebody suing for less than $5,000, and also misdemeanor crimes for adults. That's general district court. The final thing that's within this court structure are family cases like divorces, child custody, and child support. Those cases would also go to juvenile and domestic relations court. Now, if these cases are going to get appealed in general district court or juvenile and domestic, they would go to circuit court first before going to the Court of Appeals. So the circuit court can actually, if you look at the bottom, appeal from district court trials from down here. They have original jurisdiction only for two kinds of cases: felonies in the state of Virginia and large dollar civil cases or big civil cases. They have to be $5,000 or more. Those cases go to circuit court. Hold on one second. The third court in Virginia is called the Virginia Court of Appeals. Oh, by the way, I completely forgot. Let's go back to circuit court. In circuit court, they have judges and they can have jury trials. But this court right here, circuit court, the one that hears felonies, that is the only court in Virginia with a jury, the only one. Okay. All right, let's move on to Virginia Court of Appeals. This court has a judge, or three judges actually. They only have appellate jurisdiction from circuit court. So they review decisions of the circuit court. And then that's all you really need to know about that one. So if you see an appeals case from circuit court, that's going to be Virginia Court of Appeals would have jurisdiction over that case. The highest court in Virginia is the Virginia Supreme Court. We have 7 justices and no jury. They have two kinds of jurisdiction: appellate jurisdiction and limited original. Now remember, they have limited original jurisdiction only over cases where people are suing the government of Virginia, suing the governor, or if a county sues another county, or a city government sues another city or other county. Okay? Those cases are called limited original. That concludes the structure of our state court system and moves us on to the examples. Now, with these examples, we're going to do them twice. So for this video, I'm going to answer myself, and then we're going to go back and see if you can remember and come up with these examples. So we're going to begin with the federal court system. So the answers for these are either going to be U.S. District, U.S. Appeals, or U.S. Supreme. Example 1. Al Capone is charged with kidnapping, which is a federal crime. What type of court will this case start at? That's a picture of Al Capone, and if it's a kidnapping charge at the federal level, it would go to General District Court. Example number 2. In the state of California, the state of California sues Oregon for using its waters for fishing. If a state sues another state like California and Oregon, that case is limited original and starts in the U.S. Supreme Court. Example number 3. Mr. Costa is accused of counterfeiting money. This is a federal crime. What court will this case start at? Well, counterfeiting, it's a felony. Those are jury trials in the federal system. That is U.S. District Court. U.S. District Court for counterfeiting. Example 4. A man named Lee Harvey Oswald assassinated the president, John F. Kennedy, in 1963. This is a federal murder charge, and that would go to U.S. District Court. That's a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald and John F. Kennedy. We talked about that in class the other day. That concludes federal court examples. Now we're going to move to state court examples. The answers you would use are Virginia Supreme, Virginia District, Juvenile Domestic, Virginia Circuit, and Virginia Court of Appeals. These are a little different, a little more detailed because it's state court. You probably would understand more about state court than federal court because federal court cases are really big and have to involve something over federal law. This example, T.I. and Little Kim, this is an old one. I made this PowerPoint a while ago. Get married in Virginia. They raise a family together. Several years later, they get divorced. T.I. insists on having custody of the children and the family dog. Where would this case begin to determine custody? That would be juvenile and domestic relations court because it is a divorce. Next example, Cheyenne steals a brand new Ferrari Spider sports car. This would be a felony because this car is worth an awful lot of money. She crashes the car and is arrested. Where would this case begin in state court? It's a felony. That would be Virginia Circuit Court. Example number 7, Mr. Costa shoplifts a PS3 game. This, again, I said this is a long time ago. This is a state misdemeanor. He is caught. Where would his case begin? State misdemeanors? General District Court. And this is the last one I think I want to do today, guys. Several adults are playing baseball at Jackson Park. One of the adults hits a ball, causing it to fly up and backwards into the parking lot. The baseball lands on Mr. Costa's car, breaking the windshield. Mr. Costa sues the man for the cost of the windshield, which is $300. Where would a low-dollar lawsuit case begin like this? General District Court. Okay, I think that's going to conclude my examples for today. Thank you, and I'm going to end the recording now.